Beef heart, one of the most debated and controversial foods in the aquarium hobby. On one hand, it's packed with protein and nutrients that help your discus thrive. On the other hand, some aquarists warn that it is dangerous to overfeed. Beef heart is often hailed as the ultimate food for discus fish, but it's a topic that sparks debate in the aquarium world. Some swear by its benefits, while others warn against overfeeding it. Is it really as good as they say? Beef heart, some say it's the best, some say do not feed it. Here's my opinion on beef heart. All right, so first the good about beef heart. First of all, it's high in protein. Protein helps discus grow, and discus grow rapidly, so they need a good high protein diet. Fat content is very important. So what is good about beef heart? Now, there's a lot of controversy about this food, and I expect to get comments that it's the most wicked food you could ever feed a discus, to I feed my discus beef heart constantly. And they might be correct in both situations, but there is something I'm going to point out in this video that's going to help you as far as making that decision. Now, feed it, don't feed it, I don't really care. I've been feeding it in my fish room for 30 years, and it's proven over and over to grow big, healthy discus. Why is that? Well, one, it has high protein. That is crucial for growing discus because they grow very rapidly. But that's also why we must do water changes constantly on discus. Amino acids are crucial for the immune system to thrive. And discus need a strong immune system. So without that, they will dwindle quick and very quick before you know it, especially growing discus. Fat content, discus need fat to grow because it creates energy. This is where it gets a little sticky as far as beef heart. And we'll talk about that coming up in this video. So fatty acids can actually help coloration. It can help discus color more rapidly. Now, a lot of people that try to color discus early use hormones, and they pump them full of these hormones so they can sell a 2 or 3 inch fish at a bright color. The fatty acids will do that naturally. Now, you're not gonna get that distorted color with fatty acids, but what you will get is a more natural coloration, and it will actually look better, in my opinion, to have a natural coloration than that glow discus look, which I just cannot stand, and I can spot it from a mile away. And that glow discus look is why most people are failing with discus, because the discus has no chance to get its immune system strong. When it's pumped full of hormones, that is detrimental to the fish long term. Short term, yes, it does give a benefit, but long term, it affects the overall health of the discus. So fatty acids are the secret to coloring discus, not early, but to give them a better glow naturally at a younger age. So studies have shown that actually beef heart can make a discus more colorful, better muscle growth, and actually make their immune system stronger if fed correctly. Some of the concerns with beef heart. Now, I'm not saying it's the perfect food, but it's proven for decades. I mean, 50 years at least of growing discus. And people send me messages all the time and say, you know, my discus died from beef heart. And then my question back to them is, all the fish in your tank died from beef heart? And they said, no, one fish. If beef heart was killing fish, it would kill a tank. It wouldn't kill just one fish in that tank. So there are many reasons why discus died. Organ failure, as far as bad genetics, that's a big one because they're highly inbred. There's all different kinds of reasons why discus die. And if you're feeding a tank of beef heart and one fish dies, and you tell me beef heart killed that fish, I'm probably going to be a little skeptical. Or I had a friend and his fish died because of beef heart. There are so many factors why fish die. So organ failure is a big one. If the discus is not grown correctly from a small fry to an adult, and they get that stunting in them a little bit, what happens with stunting? And that's why we look at their eye size, because that's a great measurement for their organs. So if you got a small fish with a big eye, that means their organs are getting compressed, right? Their organs are growing and the body is not. And that compression is what gives you organ failure. The heart can't pump right, the kidneys can't function right, the liver has issues. So not growing a discus correctly, that is what causes organ failure. So the eye size is a great way to see the organ size in your fish. It will tell you the whole story. You got a small fish with a big eye, chances are it's gonna fail. Stunting is a big reason why a lot of discus die. So now I wanna talk to you about the high fat. High fat is an issue just like in humans, right? We get obese and we have health issues. You have to look at a discus, how small they are and how minute their organs are. And any pressure put on those organs is gonna cause a lot of issues as far as that fish not living a long, healthy life. Just like humans, just like any obese, dogs, anything. You start putting on weight, your body cannot function right. And when your body is stressed, that's when your immune system can't kick in and do what it needs to do to make you healthy. Same with fish. So high fat in beef heart is a problem. So a concern with beef heart is lack of nutrients or vitamins. Now I just created a new beef heart. I've been working on this a long time. Been feeding to my fish, they're doing really good on it. And it's very basic ingredients, but it's packed with vitamins and it has herring oil in it. Also, I want to talk about how much to feed this beef heart in this video. So one problem with feeding a heavy beef heart diet is malnutrition. Now you're thinking you're getting all this protein and it doesn't have everything the discus need. Malnutrition is a problem and high fat content is a problem with beef heart. So there are studies about beef heart that if you feed exclusively beef heart or a heavy diet of beef heart, it can cause a nutritional imbalance. So as I preach on this channel, variety, it has its place, but is not to be fed solely to discus. This is the problem. We tend to think of beef heart as a superfood that grows fish. It does. It gives young fish an advantage, but it cannot be the sole food. Do not feed your discus beef heart every single day. You will notice over time that they will dwindle. This is the problem with beef heart, but not just beef heart, a lot of foods. It's a little too aggressive to feed every single day. And I'm gonna go over how much I believe you should feed beef heart to your fish. So like any food, moderation is the key. If you wanna be successful in growing discus or keeping discus healthy, they need a varied diet. You cannot say this is the one food I'm gonna feed. I go to tanks all the time and I look at the fish and I'm just noticing, everything looks good as far as the tank, but then I ask, so what are you feeding them? And if they break out one food, I go, oh, are you feeding them any frozen foods or anything like that? If you're feeding just one food to your discus, they will not do well. They will crash eventually. There's just not enough that they can get out of one type of food. There's so many different variables they need as far as nutrition. And so the varied diet is the secret to growing big fish and keeping big fish healthy. Striking a balance. How much should you feed your discus beef heart? My rule of thumb is 2 times a week, maybe 3 times, no more. Do not pump your discus full of beef heart as their only diet. They will not thrive. Now, it's like anything, right? Moderation is the key. You must feed your discus different types of food. The more, the better. I'm telling you right now, guys, if you go and you try to feed like just 2 different types or 3 different types of food. So this is a special kind of fish. It's not a guppy, right? Guppies, I can keep in a dirted swamp tank, deep substrate, not do water changes and feed flake, and they will do okay. These are specialized fish. They need a varied diet. I cannot stress this enough that if you're feeding just 2 or 3 different kinds of foods, it'll eventually catch up. There's so many different variables they need in their diet. They're specialized, they're grazers, they're looking for food all day long, and they're constantly trying new foods in the wild. They're not picky, so they're getting their minerals, they're getting everything from different sources. They are constantly on the search for food. This is key. Do not focus on a couple foods. And I know there's going to be people that come into this video and say, you don't know what you're talking about. Don't tell me, show me. And that's the point of this channel. I don't want to tell you what to do. I want to show you why my discus are healthy. So what did we learn today about beef heart? It's an excellent food in my opinion. It can be used as a tool, just like any other tool, and can be effective if used correctly. Use it in moderation, and variety is the key. But besides that, don't be afraid of beef heart, but please do not overfeed the product. All right, so we come to the part of the video for my subscribers and followers and people who support my channel. So YouTube analytics tells me that only 35% of you are left watching the video, which is awesome because really you are the ones I want to talk to. And if you made it this far and you're not subscribed, you want to see more of this content, please consider subscribing to the channel. And I don't say that often, but you know what? If you've made it this far, hopefully you found something valuable. All right, so I want to talk about the brand new product that's coming out. It'll be out by the time this video. Now, I've only made 12 jars because when I launch something, what I've learned is we want to make sure there's a demand, but also that I can get some feedback before I buy and produce mass quantities. Because it's expensive to start a new product. So this beef heart is pretty killer stuff. I've been feeding it in my room for about 7 months. Been testing different beef hearts for almost a year, but I like this one. So it's mostly beef heart. It has Arctic shrimp, seaweed, my vitamin packs in it, because that's one thing that was void in the beef heart, and then herring oil. Pretty amazing product. Beef Heart Supreme, it's a great product, and it really does feed different than the Breed and Grow Complete. It has more of a fine texture to it, breaks up easy, where this stuff does not break up easy, and it's designed to hold together so the discus have to fight to break it up. But the Breed and Grow Complete is meant to spread throughout the tank. And I would consider this for adults, but both of them feed sparingly 2 to 3 times a week. All right, so what's a great counterbalance? What would be the opposite of these products that could balance out a diet a little bit? The chlorella green is really designed to have high vitamin content. So I designed chlorella green for trophia or African cichlids that have a high algae diet. So one thing about green beans is they're high in polyphenols. If you know anything about diets, polyphenols are huge for keeping immune systems healthy, but also they contain lectins. Lectins are not great for the digestive system. We can neutralize and rid those of the lectins by pre-soaking in 150-degree water, and we do that with the chlorella green before we make that food. It's a great counterbalance to the beef heart. So you can literally go back and forth with those two, you know, probably feed each one a 2 or 3 times a week and be pretty good as far as a decent diet. Not a perfect diet, but a decent diet. So beef heart, chlorella green. Now, it wasn't very popular because people didn't understand what it was, but now it's starting to gain popularity because people are using and understanding that their fish are looking more vibrant and colorful and healthy. It's a great balance. If I was going to buy the beef heart, I'd buy the chlorella green. So each one switching back and forth 2 to 3 times a week. Okay, so one that's not getting a lot of traction is the Grow and Thrive, the Ultimate Worm Delight. So that stuff gets fed to my fish room probably 2 to 3, sometimes 4 times a week because it's high protein, but it's very diverse. If you look at the ingredients, it has everything in it. And I like that one a lot because I've seen a lot of good growth. All my fish get that product. Okay, so next I want to talk about the DIY Daily Delight. I pulled that off the website for a few reasons. I was getting over 5% on returns and refunds. Once it's used though, I can't really take a return, so I just refund the money. If it's something you still want and you like that DIY Daily Delight, just contact me and I can send it to you, no problem. And I can let you know how to purchase that. All right, so a lot of you probably come for the cross-contamination video. A few things have happened. Nothing bad, but I went to upload the video and the file was corrupted. Guys are officially out. They will get a big water change today. They went through the whole system, 2 different sources. This guy right here, down here, was from a fish store, 30-day quarantine. I did deworm him just because I wasn't sure. He looks great, but I just decided to deworm him. And then you have the 2 Altum Floras from Myrtle Beach. Now, Myrtle Beach bacteria has always given me an issue. There's nothing bad to say about Myrtle Beach. It's just that their bacteria is not conducive to my bacteria. Something about their bacteria is different than mine, but I put those through a 30-day quarantine. I did not do anything as far as deworm, just monitored them, and they looked great. So there's 2 of those, the fish store, which just had great shape. I liked them. And I kind of kept him off camera because I wasn't sure as far as how the Levanosol would go and everything, but he did real well. Crossed with some pretty important discus in my room. I have my Namunda turquoise cross. I have my Asian Heckle cross, and I have my turquoise cross with Heckle. And then what else is in there? Oh, and then another Myrtle, but he crossed over early. And so he was the first, and he was actually trying to spawn. He was my first test with Myrtle Beach cross-contamination that worked. So a lot of fish crossing over here, and the system works great. I will be releasing everything, but I will not release dosages. And the reason why is if you use an API product and I give you the dosage, it's not going to be effective because it's half salt. And then I'm not sure where you're sourcing your products from, but even the salt. So it's crossed in with a medication and salt. And then if you use a iodized salt, for instance, because you just don't know the difference, that could cause issues, and then the blame comes back to me. So this will be a process that's not in the hobby that I will be introducing probably in the next week or 2. Pretty excited. A lot of work went into this. 9 months solid since my first interaction, but it's something I've been kind of working on for almost a year. And everything looks great. Everything is fine. And they're going to get a big water change today. And there's even a water change system to kind of get them through this. And that's why we dose so heavy at the start. And then we do small water change. Well, decent water changes, but they kind of step up. And then it gets to a 50%. And then today is going to be a good 50% water change again today. But yeah, pretty excited. No matter what I ever did, as far as quarantine time, it tended not to work as effective as a 30-day quarantine with this treatment. But more testing has to be done, and that's where you guys are going to come in, because I want you guys to try it if you guys introduce fish together. I want to do some experiments with just salt dosages and see how high I can go with the salt, because people around the world might need this, but they don't have access to our quality of medications. So I hope that all made sense. This was kind of on the fly, and it's been 5 days, and usually what happens is within day 2 to day 3, you can kind of see that bacterial infection taking over. We're on actually day 5. So they are about 80% out of the medication, and today they'll probably be close to 100% out of that medication. And what I'll do is I got to turn down the airflow, so you know it's major airflow, and also heat. Heat is at 86 degrees. So we're going to work on that today. But I got to get this video out. So I have a lot of editing to do and B-roll. I wanted to kind of show this as the success part, combining different sources into my important fish. And that's how confident I was, because this is our 7th, actually our 6th. The fries are our 7th, and they are improving. And I've had a couple losses since I started this video. So I've had 2 losses out of about 100. And that was because of working so much. I would say in the 14 days that I've been working long hours on my other job, I've probably done 8 water changes, and that's the problem. You have to water change every day, because I was still keeping up the feeding regimen, but I wasn't following up with the water change regimen. So it's slack. You know, sometimes I would leave here at 9 a.m., do a good feeding, not get home till 6, do another feeding, and then usually I'm so tired that I don't do water changes, and that was me being lazy. But also I had to eat dinner and get ready for the next day and stuff like that. So that's one thing. I want to do this full time, and that won't interfere with this. But right now I'm kind of in this weird zone where I still have to make money, and I made good money on those 14 days, so I'm not complaining one single bit. But what happened out of that was maybe I can learn something more with my mistake and help the hobby out. All right, so on with the video. So I have to remake that video, but something else has happened. I've had an issue in my fish room with some young fish feed pretty heavy in the morning. So one day I came home and one of my fry tanks was not doing well. And so I'm using that process on that tank. But The problem with that is if it goes too long, unfortunately, those fish will not be quality fish. We're about day 2 right now, and we see improvement, and they're eating. So I'm pretty confident that the system that I'm going to give out works. But I want you to know that this all started about a year ago with this cross-contamination, because I was recommending 90-day quarantines. Now, that's not feasible for most people. I would highly still recommend a 30-day quarantine. Not really for cross-contamination, but that's an issue. But also just to make sure that fish is healthy as far as parasites or anything, bringing something into your existing tank. If you can't do it, hopefully the system will help you. But about 9 months ago, I made a video about cross-contamination, and I treated with salt. Now, I was in the process of learning stuff then, and I didn't put on that video the whole truth. Now, I want to make sure you understand why. I wasn't going to give information out that I wasn't sure was going to work. But from that point on, at that 9-month mark, that whole video was a bad week. Fortunately, my father passed away that week, and with that cross-contamination, and then we had a sewer backup in our basement. It was just one of those weeks. But I was so desperate that I tried a couple things, and I got pretty good results, but the problem was I acted too slow on it. But from that point on, I've been working on the system. Now, the problem is I don't get a lot of sick fish. My last combining was from 2 different sources with a main tank, because I'm pretty confident that this system works, but I have to remake that video. So it's probably going to be a week or 2 until that cross-contamination, that med package comes out. But because of my fry tank is going through a little issue right now, it kind of worked out, because I didn't want to put that video out and then something didn't quite go right with the fry tank, and then it was like, oh my gosh, I put that video out and the information wasn't totally correct. Now, at no point was I going to make that video about bacterial infections in a fry tank. That's not what it was about. It was combining 2 different source discus into the same tank and having some success. Ever since I put this together, it's been about 5 different times I've done that, and it's been successful every time. Now, I want to make something very clear. One time, I purposely sacrificed one of my fish in that cross-contamination theory, and it went south fast. And by doing this process and getting right on top of it, that fish survived, but not only survived, it's thriving now. So it's very encouraging, but there's not enough data yet, right? I have 6 case studies and being successful, and this fry situation is going to be number 7. So I'm going to work through this, report all deaths. So there's about 100 fish. If there's any fish that will die, I will report that on the video. But if you want to see that video from 9 months ago, check out this video here and how I was feeling that day and all the stuff I was going through. You could probably hear it in my voice now, where you didn't realize at the time what I was going through personally.